Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Redefined Season 2, an online film discussion where we're sharing inspiring stories of young adult brain tumor survivors. Thank you for joining us today. Our event has been generously sponsored by Selectpath Professional Financial Services. Thank you, Selectpath. We appreciate the support. I'm Amanda Hutter, Support Services Specialist here at Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada. With me is Dr. Mike Lang, Digital Storytelling Specialist. And our guest today is Gloria Olsen. Welcome, both of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Great. Well, here we are, episode 5. And man, I gotta say, it's been awesome getting to watch all the stories again and chatting with all the storytellers. And I'm super excited for you guys today to get to hear Gloria's story. And yeah, Gloria, I mean, I love your story, the imagery, the metaphor you develop. I think it's really just meaningful. Well done. But anyway, I want to spoil it for everyone. So we're just going to watch it. But as a reminder for everyone who's watching online, we encourage you to put any thoughts or ideas about what resonates with you in the story in the comments below. And yeah, we're excited to continue the conversation about the story as we go here. So you ready for it, Gloria?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Gloria's story.
Vacation time has arrived. It's time to get my sea legs sorted. I was heading home to finally see my family and friends after 4 or 5 months away. Hours on the cruise ship were long and the pay was low, but I was loving the adventure and the great people I lived and worked with. I couldn't wait to get home and catch up with my family and friends. I don't remember much of my first days back on dry land, but I do remember my friends and family in the ICU visiting me. Apparently, I told people that I have something in my head, but it's okay, because they're just gonna chop it out, and I'll be good to go. Later, I learned that they were actually there to say their final goodbyes. It was bad. I was going to have immediate brain surgery. I wasn't daunted when they told me that I had to be awake for my 12-hour brain surgery and talk the whole time. I had worked before and after school programs and summer camps since high school. It was easy for me to be there, talking all day. I was more worried about my parents, and apparently I made the doctor stop surgery and go and check on them. My parents were my anchors that I needed. They were there for me during my surgeries, my chemo, my radiation. After my surgeries, I had to learn how to be an adult again. I was like a small child that couldn't even walk in a parking lot without fear. I felt like I was out at sea without a paddle, but my parents were there to help me and keep me calm. I could see that they were scared and worried, and I felt like it was all my fault. How could I have done this to them? How could I help them? How could I take their stress and worry away, like I was able to do before all this happened? A couple years after treatments, I finally moved out of my parents' house, and things were looking up. It had taken me a long time to feel secure on land again. And then my dad got diagnosed with cancer, not long after I started to feel better. Suddenly, I was looking at him going through what I had just done. It was really hard for me, but spending time with him was the most important thing. We had many good conversations and laughed about many things. Like that time I had an infection in my skull and it caused me to have a screw loose. And yes, I kept the screw. I will never forget how much my parents supported me, cried with me, and laughed with me. With everything that happened, I feel so happy to have made it through. I've spent many years relearning how to do lots of things and accepting that I cannot do everything like I used to. Sometimes I still feel like I'm lost at sea because I can't accomplish the simplest tasks. I know I could have done them before cancer. My life has changed, but I'm learning to grow into this new life on solid ground.
Awesome. There we go. Glorious story. Man, I love it. There's so many different things that stand out to me in your story, Gloria, but I think one of them has to be, just how you were so concerned about your parents, right? And
What?
yeah, I hear that a lot from young adults who have a brain tumor or diagnosed with cancer. They're so concerned about the people around them. And it's hard to be in that situation when you're used to caring for others, to have them care for you instead. And so I guess my first question is, you mentioned you've slowly sort of gotten over that feeling. But yeah, maybe you can expand on a little bit more about how you got there, right? And how you're learning this new sort of life on solid ground again.
After I had been like through all my chemo and everything, I could do what any average person could do. Like you would never know that I was having difficulty doing things because I'm still like I could walk and talk and do everything. But for me, it was remembering how to do stuff.
Mm.
So like there was one time that I was like losing my mind because I couldn't do Sudoku puzzles in under 3 minutes anymore. Like I've had to kind of learn that I might not be able to do everything the way I did it before, but I can always find a new way. And
Mm.
so that's kind of what helped me get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't do it. I'll find a new way of doing it.
Yeah, finding a new way. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, I honestly don't think I can do Sudoku puzzles under 3 minutes, and I haven't had a brain tumor. So I think you're doing great if you can still do those puzzles. That's amazing. But yeah, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, right? There's these new ways of doing things that you've had to find. What are some
Yeah.
other things that you found?
Um, well, if I get given, like at work, let's say I get given a project or an item to do and it has the how to's, I have to try it and try it and try it and then just write my own how to's.
Yeah.
And then I've got it.
Mm.
And like, I cannot for the life of me remember people's names anymore. So now I know I have to kind of take a picture and put the name beside it.
Mm.
Because there's, for some reason, I recognize the person, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you say for some reason, I think there's a very big reason, right? They cut into your brain, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
This
there's a
kind of
very
a
good
bit
reason.
insane.
Yeah, very good reason why these things are difficult. But what I really like what you're saying is, you found sort of workarounds for some of these things, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's really awesome to for I think for other young adults or other people who may watch this who have brain tumors to think to themselves, yeah, what are some ways that I can develop some workarounds or some memory aids, to help
Yeah.
still accomplish and live the way that I want. And I love that you weren't defeated by these things. You came up with
No.
yeah.
I had a lot of support from my family though. Like
Mhm.
my mom and dad were there for everything. They supported me when I went back to work too early and had to like quit again.
Yeah. Yeah, I went
So
back to work to you earlier. I feel like that's a whole nother conversation,
yeah,
for young adults, you sometimes you just throw yourself back in there without taking the time to recognize the incredibly big life event that you've just gone through, right? So,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I maybe we'll come back to that, but I want to bring Amanda in here. And Amanda, what was one thing that stood out to you as you were watching Gloria's story?
A couple of things. How many people can actually say that they have proof of a screw loose? Like, so
Yeah.
I found a little comedy in it.
Yeah, that's
I thought that was pretty
true.
cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you used to work on the ships, but you don't anymore. And now you're in a different line of work or a different field. So just that transition, even without a diagnosis, can be really tricky. So what was that like for you, having to leave something that you really, really liked, and unfortunately probably can't return to a completely different field?
Well, it was and it wasn't. Like when I started back at work, I went back to doing like before and after school programs and summer camps and that sort of thing. But because I couldn't exactly be playing basketball, I kind of moved to being at the front desk. And that's how I like slowly learned how to do front desk things. And that was helpful. Like I was lucky that a manager that I had when I left saw that I was wanting to come back and was like, come to mine. So
Yeah. So you had people reach out to you to sort of say, hey, you know, it may look different now, but you can still be involved in
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it takes some time, you know, and I think sometimes, you know, you don't recognize that recovering from something like this, you know,
Yeah.
takes more time than
And
getting treated for it.
until I start talking about it now, I kind of forget how long that took. I'm like, oh, that happened and I'm fine now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the timelines, it's hard to remember sometimes when you look back on it a few years, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Well, you know, I want to talk a little bit about your story. Also, you know, you developed this metaphor of, you know, sort of being, you know, between the ocean and dry land, and
Yeah.
rediscovering, using that as a metaphor for rediscovering this new life. You know, tell us a bit more about that metaphor and why you chose it and why it means something.
Well, when I worked on the ship, I would be working 7 days a week. But every once in a while, when we were docked in Port Canaveral in Florida, we would have enough time to get off. And, you know, if you didn't get that kind of break for like 2 or 3 weeks, you're walking outside and you're kind of tilted a bit. And
Yeah.
so that's what made me connect the two things. Like I came back to live my life here again, but it was a lot harder than just kind of tilted walking.
Yeah, yeah, literally learning to walk on dry land again. So there's that
Yeah.
literal element of it, but then there's also that sort of metaphorical one where you start to think about trying to come back to a life when everything has been different, right? Everything's been
Yeah.
sort of moving and off balance for a long time, and here you are trying to learn how to walk again in this new life. So yeah, man, what a great metaphor for people to understand what it's like for a young adult with a brain tumor to come back to everyday life. And so yeah, thank you for sharing that, Gloria. It's a great story. I love the final photo of you walking out and the water's parting. You're on dry land. You're figuring it out, and it's such a
Yeah.
hopeful ending despite the challenges that you face. And I think yeah, it's a great way for us to end, I think, this episode is to think about, you know, it's possible. You can find the workarounds. You can
Yep.
new career path. You're living it right now. So thanks for encouraging others through your story, and thanks for being willing to share it in this
No
way.
problem.
So awesome. Great. Okay. Well, everyone else who's watching online, please feel free to continue the conversation. Comments below. We'd love to chat with you more about this. And make sure you come back for episode 6 in just a few days here. There's one final story to share that we can't wait for you guys to see. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.